Hey guys, my name is Tommy. Welcome back to the next episode of the Inner Sea region, a 5-minute tour. Today, we're headed to Jalmeray. Before we get to that though, I do have to announce that we as a channel officially have our very first patron. Patronage is the #1 way to support any YouTuber in any community, and the more patronage Black Dragon Gaming gets, the more time I'll be able to devote to it, the better quality videos I am able to produce. So if that's something you might want to see, the link to our Patreon is in the description. Of course, as it is with pretty much every Patreon account, in exchange for your patronage, you receive a reward for supporting that particular content creator. And our first patron has pledged into our second tier, meaning in addition to access to our Discord server, he gets a shout out every time we make a video. So with no further ado, today's episode of the 5-minute tour is brought to you by the Inn of Planar Crossroads, where a double odd on your percentage dice can only mean the death of your entire party. Thanks for supporting us, Adam. Now, with no further ado, on to the video. Jalmeray is a large island in the Obari Ocean off the coast of Nex. It's been controlled by Nex at times, but for the past 2,000 years, it's been ruled by nobles from Vudra, a nation that exists on the continent of Casmaron to the Inner Sea region's east. On paper, Jalmeray is ruled by an undisputed monarch, Karzwan, the Thakur of Jalmeray, but in fact, his power is limited. The country is actually ruled by noble families, powerful mystics, and mighty masters of the island's monasteries. These people have influence over the vast body that actually oversees the day-to-day micromanaging of the country, which is called the Marya Ram. The Thakur tends to spend his days writing poetry, attending to his harem, and pitting his advisors against one another in an effort to make sure none of them become too powerful. Not a lot is known about Jalmeray before it was claimed by the Archmage Nex in 253 AR. Even after his conquest, little is written of the island except that it was a place of incredible natural beauty. The island only starts receiving mention in the histories after it becomes home to the legendary Maharaja of Vudra, Kibin Sald, in 563 AR, when he visited the Inner Sea region at the head of a fleet of 101 exotic Vudran ships. His first port of call was the Nexian capital of Quantium, and he shortly became beloved by Nex's court because at the time, no one in Avestan or Garund had ever seen a Vudrani before. It wasn't long after his arrival before the Archmage Nex granted Kibin Sald dominion over the island, and for a decade, he and his traveling court erected temples and monuments using bound genies, and when they left a decade later, the incredible monuments they built were the only thing that they left behind. Shortly after the Maharaja's departure in 576 AR, the Archmage Nex disappeared. One of the factions vying for his power, called the Archlords, failed in their effort to earn rulership of Nex and were thus exiled to Jalmeray. The Archlords either tried to modify the wonders left behind by the Vudrani, but more often than not, they pretty much just ignored them. Flash forward to 2822 AR, when the Vudrani return in huge numbers at the port of Niswan on Jalmeray's western coast. The Vudrani who arrived claimed to be descendants of the legendary Maharaja Kibin Sald, and despite the improbability of this, because it had been in fact over 2,000 years since the Vudrani had set foot here, the Vudrani produced legitimate genealogies to support their claims. They politely asked the Archlords to vacate the island, and when the Archlords refused, the Vudrani summoned up an army of Marids, that being aquatic genies, and used them to batter the island with storms, sinking all but one of the Archlords' ships. The Archlords fled with their tails between their legs, and ever since then, Jalmeray has been firmly under Vudrani control. Jalmeray is incredibly beautiful, and across the known world it is renowned for the splendid sights that lie within its borders that one can see nowhere else except, of course, distant Vudra. Even the island's climate is exotic, which many speculate to be a consequence of the elemental creatures that reside there and were bound there to shape the island. The port city of Niswan is beset by cold winds and even sometimes snow, but a few hundred miles away on the northern tip of Jalmeray, during the snowstorms, the mountains are covered in verdant forests. Jalmeray is the only nation in the Inner Sea where the Vudrani are the dominant ethnicity. It's the Inner Sea's only link to the impossible kingdoms of Vudra, and therefore Jalmeray possesses a unique mystique, say that one 10 times fast, only enhanced by the beauty of the island. Jalmeray is the only part of the Inner Sea region where Vudrani is the dominant language, and in addition to this, worship of the god Irori is the strongest here as he is of Vudrani ethnicity, though of course he must stand alongside thousands of other deities worshipped only in the Impossible Kingdom. Jalmeray also has an unusually high number of monks, with prowess renowned across entire continents as they master their craft at the Houses of Perfection, which are the most sought after monasteries in the Inner Sea region. To qualify to be trained at one of these things, the applicant must race a djinn that is as swift as the wind, wrestle with a shaitan, being of course an earth genie, and outwit a cunning ifriti. This, of course, branches us right into why, oh why are we bringing our players to this tiny little island away from everything else? Jalmeray, like Qadira just above it, is a gateway to another part of Golarion and the key to unlocking another part of the story of Golarion's lore that we've only so far seen just a little bit of. The Inner Sea region is super interesting and there's a lot going on here, but it's only a sliver of what we have on Golarion. Jalmeray gives us a little bit of a taste of some other things that players aren't going to find in other parts of the region, and it gives you as a GM a ticket to bring your players across the ocean to a new continent that only has, at this point in time, a little bit of lore, meaning it's pretty much, at this point, entirely up to you how you run it. Jalmeray, from an Earth perspective, sits a little more awkwardly than you would imagine it would, considering we're drawing heavily on Indian culture here. It being an island off the coast of what is essentially our Africa, Garund, one can make the argument for Madagascar, as well as Sri Lanka, given the Vudrani culture and the fact that, again, it is an island separated from India. There's also heavy hints here of the collection of Middle Eastern folktales that we know as 1001 Nights. Roll it all together, you've got Jalmeray. So have you guys ever adventured in Jalmeray? Have you ever adventured in the Impossible Kingdom of Vudra? If so, throw it in the comments below and we'll talk about it. Don't forget, guys, we're still giving away 2 copies of Divinity Original Sin 2, so you and a friend can take part in what is, in this one's humble opinion, the best co-op isometric RPG on the market. If that's something you might want, the link is in the description. Be sure to like and subscribe for more videos. The next episode of the 5-Minute Tour drops next Friday.